Alright, now here we are under the hood of the E30, and right now I've got a GE 11-inch forklift motor. This actually came out of a old project that was a Dodge Dakota, and I bought it. It was actually being used as a farm truck, but the batteries had died and the charger had died, so I bought the motor from him. And interesting, so it had the motor adapter already, so to hook up to a Dodge truck transmission. So it took a little bit of searching. The original transmission in this was an AX5, which is a very weak transmission and certainly wasn't able to hold up to the torque. That's why the owner had mentioned that the clutch disintegrated in short order, and so he had bolted it without the use of a clutch. So I started doing some searching around. I found the 92-93 Dodge AX15 out of the Dodge Dakota. Had the same bell housing as the old AX5 motor, and the AX15 is a very stout transmission. It's a version of it's used in the Supra, it's used in the full-size Dodge trucks, it's used in the Jeeps, and will easily be able to handle the torque, as evidenced by I was able to get a stage 5 clutch for this, and that clutch will hold 600 foot-pounds of torque thereabouts, which is a key thing when doing conversion and keeping the clutch, is making sure that that clutch doesn't slip. So by buying a AX15 Dodge two-wheel drive Dodge transmission, I was able to reuse the motor adapter, but then more critically I was able to find a clutch that would be able to handle the high torque that this motor will put out. Now, one 11-inch motor is usually more than adequate, but I felt that a little bit more power was needed. So have set up here with dual motors, and have a belt drive system here. And I'm not putting another 11-inch motor on it. Two 11-inch motors would be excessive. And the other thing is, it's actually very hard to find belts that will be able to handle the torque. So actually, this mounting plate here is for a Azure Dynamics AC24LS motor. It has a couple of advantages. One, because of the fact that it's AC, I can get regen. Now, the AC24 motor is not very powerful, especially with the DMOC 445 that they had originally equipped. So this gives me the power that I want for the from the 11-inch motor. I obviously get a little bit more power. I get probably about 60 or 70 horsepower more out from the ACL24, but it has a nice advantage is that I do get regen, so that I can, and that's more than enough regen for this size car. So I end up getting the best of both worlds. A lot of torque and a lot of power for not a lot of money with DC, but I still able to have the regen. Of course, a little bit of disadvantages. It makes it more complicated because I will have two controllers. This motor is going to be powered by Soliton 1, and the AC24LS is going to be powered by the DMOC 445 that came with it. And so it's a little bit of extra fiddling and mounting and wiring, obviously, but I think it's going to be worth the extra effort. So let's get that motor on. You can see here, finally got the hydraulics working in the BMW. It was a bit of a challenge to figure out how to connect the clutch slave cylinder. This particular Dodge was only a few years, it's kind of an oddball year in between the AX5 with the separate bell housing and the AX15 with the integral bell housing. And so I had to find the clutch slave cylinder that would work, and then have to be able to adapt that over to the BMW master cylinder. So in the end, it was a combination of a early 90s Dodge transmission with a clutch from a
mid-90s full-size Dodge AX15, and the slave cylinder is actually from a Jeep, for a Jeep Wrangler. I did that because I was able to get this clutch line kit. It's made by Advanced Adapters specifically for adapting over from the old integral style clutch slave to the external style. So that made that figuring out that part easy, and then took ordering a special fitting to go from the metric M10 by 1 mm up to the AN4 fitting that the Advanced Adapter supplies. And the hardest thing was that the slave cylinder, you can't see it now, but has a very unusual fitting. It's doesn't screw it, it's actually an O-ring. Then you insert the brass fitting through the O-ring and pin it into place. So that made finding the right adapters quite the challenge. But works now. Step on the clutch, you can spin it free and let go, and it engages. So I'm anxious to get the drive shaft made up. That'll be the next challenge. I've got to adapt from I've got to use Dodge truck rear-wheel drive shaft from a junkyard coming, and then I will merge that with the BMW factory drive shaft with the rubber donut for the back, and hopefully in the next week or so make it so I can spin the wheels all up on jack stands.